All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We do not see anybody from the public at this moment, but we will come back if we have someone show up. You have the minutes in front of you that were sent out. Is there any changes, deletions? If not, someone wants to make a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Mr. Chairman, General Manager, if you'll hand approval of vouchers, please.
Yes, sir. We have the vouchers in front of you. You should have received those in your packet. There is nothing in that I would highlight. They're pretty routine and standard, but I'm available if there is a question. If not, I recommend approval of the vouchers, Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there any questions on those? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Mr. General Manager, monthly reports, please.
Yes, sir. Our Director of Accounting and Finance has chosen to spend time with his wife and 3 sons over us being here tonight. So he's apparently on spring break somewhere. I hope they're having a great time, which leaves me to share with you the news that I have for the financial statements. Now remember, this is for the revenue month of August, so you have to back up in time a little bit. And things that positively have impacted the statements are our load factor. And you remember, load factor essentially is the average load divided by the peak load. So I always like to help my mind, I look at the C and I say, well, that's KWH. And that the mountain coming out of the sea, that's the KW. So that's the power, and the energy is the KWH of the sea. The difference between the top of that mountain and the sea is what we call the load factor, and that's the utilization rate. And what we try to do is we hope that sea goes as high up that mountain as it possibly can. And for us in July, we had a load factor of 62.92. Our target is 60%. If we can get 60% utilization, that generally heralds a pretty good month for us. At 62.92, which we had in July, we enjoyed the highest net income in all the years I've been here of over 800,000. So that was great. This for August, it was 59.95, right at that 60 mark, which was very good. So those things worked really well in our favor. So not only is the utilization rate working for us, our peak shaving is working for us. And that's where we go to the top of the mountain and then try to shave that thing down to get it closer to the water, which is the KWH. For every KW, we have to pay TVA $11.81 within that peak period of time during that revenue month. $11.81. For every KWH, we have to give TVA about 8 cents. For every KWH that we charge every resident, it's about 10 cents. So we're dealing with about a 2-cent margin in there. So when you have to give TVA $11.81 on top of that, it takes a lot of that seawater in order to get your money back. So that's why that's so important. In November, our load factor was at 49%, and we lost our shirt, if you remember, because it peaked up and we didn't have any backup of KWH. So for August, Todd and his team, through the virtual power plant, was able to shave that peak by 6,300 kW. And 6,300 kW times $11.81 is $75,053. So that's what we saved in August in our ability with this virtual power plant for the month of August that saved off the bottom line $75,053. For the year to date on that, we're over $750,000. And if we go all the way back, and Sweet Greg is trying to find what page I'm talking about, and I'm moving around, aren't I, Fred? if we go all the way back to when TVA started charging us for this KW, $11.81, we're now at almost 13 million. And that's that little really sheet that's got all those small numbers on it, Greg.
Oh,
And it's at the very bottom that you can see that. There it is
there.
in yellow, 12,778,000. That's what we enjoy. And I make a point of that is because other utilities are not being, they don't have the capability of doing that. This goes all the way back to what we talked about last month in our ability to communicate. And with that communication, we're able to do, and a lot of other things, this dynamic voltage regulation and things that we're doing now in order to save this money. And our friends in Knoxville are just starting that. Our friends in Oak Ridge are just talking about trying to get some of these things done. $750,000 this year alone, $75,053 for this month alone. So things that work against us for this month were the fact that we pay bi-weekly, so we get every 2 weeks we get paid, and twice a year we get paid 3 times in 1 month by the way it falls. And that fell in August this time and also in February. So we won't see that again the next year. That generally works to the point where we have a negative net income. So we were thrilled that we're in a positive position. We also paid $150-some thousand in bond issuance costs that was recognized in August. So that we were able to backfill enough with our savings to offset these one-time expenses. Yes, sir.
If you back those two out, you got a ballpark of what your month would have looked like. Obviously, it'd been at least 150 better.
Oh, yeah, we would have been over 200,000.
Yeah.
We would have had a net income of over 200,000. All right. So the bottom line is the electric department remains very strong. We've exceeded the forecast to date by over $500,000, and we're essentially 68% on the way to being to meeting the full forecasted budget, which ends in June of 2025. Great. We're really starting out great, is what I'm trying to say. In water and sewer, for positive for us is the sales revenue continues to outpace last year's sales, and it's supported by an increase in interest income. Now that the interest rates have gone up, we have some significant investments, and we're seeing return on those investments. The negative is obviously 3 payrolls and an uptick in operations costs. We did a lot of sewer line repair, replacement, and treatment and disposal costs are up, and that's in the neighborhood of 50,000. But bottom line, both the water and sewer departments are in net positive positions, and we remain very, very strong financially. And I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has on these statements.
Greg, I'm sure there's an obvious answer to this. I just don't know it. That thing I was showing you and Todd, the
Yes.
routine, it shows my voltage being cut 2 hours a day, once a day. Still within acceptable range, but definitely you see the difference. What happens if we cut voltage across the universe 2 volts, 3 volts down and leave it there? Is there harm to the?
Well, everything, there is advantages and disadvantages to everything. So what we do is we always live in the higher range of this ANSI standard, which 120 plus or minus 5%. That's where we go. We always be above that. So you get a branch, you get a squirrel, you get something that's naturally a drop in voltage that will cause a natural drop. You still won't see it. You see, so we live up here in order to make sure that everything is always transparent to you. What Steve is talking about is when Todd pulls the levers for these virtual power plants, it's in anticipation because we never know. It's the highest hour within the month. So we don't know what that hour is. So when we have a real hot afternoon and you say, well, it's been 81 degrees, 95 degrees, we're thinking, well, that's a real chance, but it might be 97 down the road. So we're constantly sensitive to pulling these levers to make sure that we hit that peak at $11.81 per kW. We stay in that higher range in order to assure that you're provided quality service throughout that period. And then it gives us the ability to back off when we need to shave that peak. So Steve has this thing, and I do too. I think State Farm has given it out, and what it does is it monitors the power quality within your home, if there's any issues, and it detects if there's faults. If you have a fault in there, it'll let you know because they're trying to keep fires from happening. And in that, it shows Steve has identified. Well, gosh, I see this drop at about the same time every day. It's not exactly, it's whenever we feel we need to pull that lever. And that's what we do. It's always transparent because we know what your voltage is at your meter at every house before we pull that in order to make sure that you stay within that ANSI standard, which you do. So that, I just said that because I want everybody to understand what we're talking about. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, sort of. Yeah. We don't want to take a chance on dropping out of the bottom, so we maintain it high.
We always, as does everyone. That's right. Everybody doesn't have the ability to tailor as much as we do because they adjust the voltage at the substation so they can control what comes out of the substation. And they always have to have that at a higher level because what's at the end of that radial, whatever at the end of the line, they want to make sure that there's sufficient voltage there to do that. And unless they can communicate with or understand what the voltage is all the way through that whole circuit, they've got to boost what's coming out in order to assure that you've got voltage at the end of the line. We have communications that will tell us at different sections. So we have equipment on our lines that will actually boost the voltage. So not only what's coming out of the substation, we got the ability to boost it out here to get that last bit to make sure the last guy on the line, what's at his meter is within that ANSI standard.
Any other questions on the monthly financials? Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
So, is there first or second?
Second.
So moved. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Project status report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are really tracking some projects in the electric department, and Todd, if you don't care, you can want to mention those.
Yes, sir, I will. Thank you. Mr. Fay indicated we've got 4 projects we're currently tracking here on the large capital projects. The first one there is over at Stony Fork, Winona Arrow Cable Line. We're rebuilding that with a small conductor over there located well off the road, out in the middle of the bottoms and stuff. Highly susceptible to outages, so this gives us capacity and additional reliability over there. We anticipate that project being done here by the end of November. It's scheduled. All's going well over there. It's going progressing well. The second one there is another one kind of over in the Rosedale area over there at New River. It's kind of similar thing where it's off the road. We'll relocate it to the road and all that and rebuild it. We're kind of just in the pre-construction process on that, just beginning to clear the right-of-way. Probably will start actual line construction on that project sometime next month is anticipation. Then the final 2 there on the list are Mr. Hollingsworth subdivision up here off of Sinking Springs. The first one on the list there, we're now fully complete with that section, which is all the single-family homes across Sinking Springs, kind of next to the river. So all 126 lots in that section there are now fully complete, ready to go. And we gave Mr. Hollingsworth and his company a letter this week recognizing that those are all fully complete. All facilities are ready on that. So very happy about that. And then the second one there on the list, we are just awaiting the developer there to finish the installation of the conduits and vaults and pedestals, which they were responsible for on that before we can actually begin construction. Kind of been moving that out. At one time I was anticipating getting started here this month or next month, but they're still kind of delaying on the installation of conduits. So anticipate December, January timeframe right now is the last thing I heard on that, with construction sometime early next year. So any questions on any of those?
I'm not hearing any. If we'll move on to purchase order, please.
Yes, the next order of business, Mr. Chairman, is the transformer bid that we have. You should have that in your packet. You notice, and David, for your benefit, we go through an analysis every time because losses are a big thing. So we want to we try to determine the life cost of transformers, and that way we can value out what is the best in terms of value for the utility over the life of the transformer. We have specifications they meet, and part of that is we want to know the losses on the transformer. So we go through a big evaluation on that, and sometimes we cherry pick in order to get what we think is the best. And we actually cherry picked here, and through all of that process, we saved $250. And generally, we do much better than that, but 250 is still 250. So we're recommending the lowest bid from of the two, and that is Tico at $33,210 and Gresco at $68,850 for a total of $102,060. We recommend those transformers and that you approve this purchase order.
Any questions about this? Is there a motion? Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Work orders, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we've got two for the board to consider, one in electric and one in water. And I thought that, Todd, if you don't care to tell about this feeder upgrade on Granite Road.
Yes, sir. So the first of these is out here on Granite Road, here right outside of Clinton, where we are proposing to replace about 1.5 miles of conductors there, which is small 4 ACSR primary neutral conductors there. To get another one of these cases where the line was built probably in the 50s, 60s, and is located well off the road, just take the shortest distance between 2 points at that time. So as we always do now, we take the opportunity to relocate those to the road for increased reliability. We can access them, fewer outages, and if something does happen, we can get to them a lot easier. So we'll relocate that. We'll install larger conductors here along that route as well, so that eventually this will be a tie line for us between Highway 25W all the way over to Sulphur Springs to integrate into our Flizzr system. This is actually the first half of that. The next half will come in the future to complete that loop. So. Any questions on that? I will say as well that we had budgeted on this $425,000 when I did the preliminary capital budget here back earlier this year. After all final engineering is completed, even with the 10% contingency, we're now estimating a cost on that $410,850.
Let's take these separate. Any questions on that one? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? And the next one?
Next one is in our water and sewer department. I'm going to let you speak to it, Gray, but I'm going to set you up for it if I can. This is something that we've been working with the city for what is really now years, and the city has been working on this. It's an upgrade within our downtown market and Main Street area. They're going to do a lot of construction down there, and the city. Talking with Roger, and he's been really a great help to us. We determined, well, there's no better time for us to get some of the most veteran equipment and piping that we have on our system within Clinton in this area, and it is always a challenge. Anytime we have a repair, we have helped replace flooring and everything else in some of those buildings down there. With some of the leaks that we've had. This is going to give us an opportunity to replace all of that. And then, since the city is going to have all of that dug up, we're going to be able to bypass some of the cost of the repaving and getting it all back. So it's been a win-win for us. It is a substantial project. And as you can see, our total cost to us is just over $2.5 million with almost a $400,000 contingency in it. But this has been part of our budget. We have budgeted for this. We have the money for it, and we think it is a great time to do it. Greg, you want to? Have I missed anything?
You have not.
No, thank you. Well, It is now moved, and there's grant money associated with it, over almost $2 million that we'll receive to offset some of this cost. But still, our cost is going to be substantial, but the gain for us is going to be substantial. So I recommend approval of work order 998W for the improvements of the downtown streetscape project.
What is construction observation?
That's when the consultants come out. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, that's when the consultant comes out. We have to have that with the grant money that's involved and everything else. They actually make sure it's installed per our specifications and standards.
I was going to try to get Nancy to do that for a lower price, and apparently that didn't work.
That's a big, great project for the community.
It is going to be super.
Any questions on this one? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the approval of that work order, we'll now move on to the approval of the award for the water and sewer line relocation for downtown to Adams Construction LLC. You should have a copy of the letter from Cannon and Cannon in your packet. And Greg, you want to speak to this award?
This award is for actually the total project, and this section of it is just for the water and sewer. The city is going to take it to council at their next council meeting to award it as well. This is a process for us internally for the water and sewer side of it.
See that it went through the bid process, so we got everything taken care of there.
Mhm.
Okay. Any
Here's
questions? Oh, go ahead.
There's a certified bid tab right there.
Great. All right. Any questions on this? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Joe Manager, you got any other business?
I do. Mr. Chairman, I want to remind you that on the morning of September the 28th, Hurricane Helene impacted our service area as it entered into the East Tennessee region. And it brought with it heavy rain and gusty winds, and it lasted till Saturday the 29th. Our distribution system and our Flizzer system performed exceptionally well, and our employees continue to uphold our standard of excellence. The storm caused 8 broken poles, 157 outages, and it affected 6,719 of our customers across our 6 counties. At 8:40 p.m. on Saturday, we had restored power to all but 295 of our customers. Unfortunately, at this time, our neighboring utilities, such as Powell Valley and KUB, they were hit very hard and still had 8,846 customers and 4,563 customers without service, respectively. I say that to say how devastating this storm was for us and our whole area. We were able to restore, I think, very timely, and our system, I think, stood that storm very well.
Very proud of our folks, the work
Yeah.
they put in as well.
I wanted the board to be aware of that. Now, on October the 3rd, Tim West, who is our right-of-way coordinator, he's also an ISA certified arborist, he participated in the City of Clinton's Arbor Day celebration. He provided and planted a tree with the kids at South Clinton Elementary School, and this event is always enjoyed by the kids and in part of our overall right-of-way program. It's one of the reasons why Cub has been recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree Line USA member for over 20 years. Finally, well, not finally, but next we're proud and happy to report that Cub is once again won the best utility company in the latest Courier News Readers Poll. So I'm not sure how many years in a row that is, but it's a lot. And speaking of the Courier, I noticed an article in here, and it says why CUB doesn't have fiber broadband. So I read that with interest, and it was enlightening, to tell you the truth. The piece primarily summarized Jim McBride's report to the city council, but only superficially, in my opinion, addressed the reasons behind CUB's absence from the broadband market. Consequently, it failed to provide readers, again, in my opinion, with a comprehensive understanding of the issue. And to address this, after I read it, I just called the courier and reached out to the reporter and invited him to come down to this office next week. And in that meeting, I'm going to provide him with details, facts, and resources to ensure a more thorough explanation of the topic, and so he can write another article on that, which will beef up, I think, what he initially had down there. And he was very nice, graciously accepted, and we've scheduled a meeting for next Tuesday. Now, I wanted to share with you, Dave, what we did last month was at the request of the chairman. That's not something I just popped up and said, let's talk about broadband. He asked me to put that on the agenda and to have a discussion about that. So it wasn't initiated from this end. It was initiated from our chair. And that's why I came out with that. Not to gas you guys up to be ambassadors on why CUB has broadband. I've also tried to get the pulse of if anybody's interested politically for an in-depth explanation, and I haven't received a lot of positive feedback on that. But if we do, I'm ready at any time. Or if you have an opportunity to say, somebody's saying, well, you want to know more about it, you need to call the big heavy set guy down there at CUB, and he'll fill you in. So next, I want to make you aware that we discovered an error associated with a multiplier on one of our large commercial customers, which resulted in an underbilling. And we're in the process of working out a payment agreement with them. It's going to be money to our favor. And I just want to let you know that's in the works. And finally, I want to let the board know that we are actively continuing to engage in the regional wastewater discussions with the county. Greg is in that, Todd and I are both in that. We're working with the county, ACWA, and the city of Norris. And our focus is on potential regional wastewater growth and treatment. Norris is under a TDEC order. Norris is trying to, and already taken steps to address that. They've got a significant grant of over $3 million on a potential study. And we're looking at, and they're so gracious because they want to say we have to do something. Is it an opportunity for us to look up and see if the whole region, the county, can benefit, and we do something collectively? And that's what we're working on. And Cannon is one of the firms that's working with us on that. And we've met quite a few times. And if ever we have something that I would come back and recommend to the board, I'll do that. But as of yet, we don't. But I want you to know we're constantly and continuously and actively trying to assist the county and Norris and ACWA in their efforts of what we can do regionally for wastewater treatment. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments from the other members? Mr. Carley? Mr. Jones?
No, sir.
Thanks to all of our workers for their hard work. Thanks to all the utility folks that are having to deal with what they're dealing with right now across multiple states. So, no other business. We'll call this meeting to order. Adjourn.
Outstanding.